Good morning, everyone. Today we have Betsey York with us from the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. She's a human dimensions specialist there, and I'm excited to have her join us today to chat about her experiences as far as career path and educational path, and then what she does, and find out some cool things that she's doing. Betsy, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very good. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So I gotta say, like I know my camera's like right there, but you're right there. So if I'm looking kind of
Oh,
sideways,
okay.
just know that I promise I'm paying attention. So to kind of start us off, would you tell us like kind of where you're from, where you grew up?
Yeah. So I am originally from outside of Chicago, so a suburb of Chicago called Geneva. So yeah, I grew up there. It's kind of just basic suburbia, so I wasn't really out hunting and fishing and doing all the things that I research right now. I kind of had a more um, organized sports, I guess, childhood.
Okay.
So yeah,
So what? How far out? So I lived in Illinois for a while. How far out from Chicago is that?
it's like 40 miles west,
Okay.
right at the end of the train lines, the
Okay.
metro
So like
lines.
if you're like as if you're going out toward the Quad Cities.
No, it's closer to like Naperville, if you know where that is,
Yep.
or
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
so
Okay.
it's closer to the city than the Quad Cities for sure.
Yeah. But it's in that direction, I guess, ish.
Yeah,
Okay.
straight west.
Okay. I lived in Macomb, Illinois for a few years.
Oh, okay.
And we went up to Chicago to just, get out and have fun and all that kind of stuff every
Yeah.
now and then. And I've got a buddy, I want to say, I don't know if he still lives in Naperville, but he did for a little bit.
Okay.
So he's still up there.
Yeah.
Um, so you grew up in that area. Where did you go for your undergraduate education?
I ended up going to a school in Missouri called Sherman State University.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I was there the whole time for undergrad.
And what did you study there?
I just got a general biology degree. I started out thinking I wanted to do nursing. That's kind of why I chose Truman State
Yeah,
because they had a nursing program. And then just through my experiences and my classes there, I got more interested in ecology. So I switched to more of an ecological focus and then also got a minor in environmental studies, which was kind of like the start of doing more of the social science
sure.
of ecology.
And where is Truman State in Missouri?
It's in Kirksville, Missouri, which is the northeast corner, kind of like half hour south of the Iowa border. And if you know where Columbia is, it's like an hour and a half north of Columbia, where Mizzou
Okay,
is.
very good.
So kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you know, for the students that's a very pretty area, really.
Oh yeah,
It's gorgeous.
yeah.
Um, and did you? So, what kind of stuff did you do in your free time while you were in undergrad? Was it more sports, or did you start getting involved in majors, club stuff, or anything like that?
Yeah, so the two groups, which is the biological honor fraternity. So I did that starting freshman year. And then sophomore year, I started Ultimate Frisbee.
Okay,
So I was really into Ultimate Frisbee for sophomore, junior, and senior year. So that pretty much took up all my free time other than all of the studying that I was doing for all my science classes. So
and as you concluded your time at Truman State, what was your next step, and what was your thought process going into that next step?
cool. So after I graduated, I don't really remember what exactly. I don't think I knew what I wanted to do.
Oh yeah,
So it's kind of just finding a job that sounded interesting because what actually got me interested in switching to ecology was I also did a work study
hmm,
that helped for my college, and it was collecting data on ticks. So I would go out in the field and just collect mice, collect ticks, and take them back to the lab and tag them and everything. So I realized I really, really liked field work. So I kind of knew I wanted to do something with that. And so I was just looking at any kind of job with like SCA, the Student Conservation Association, um, or yeah, other internships like that, just to try to get more experience in different kinds of biological research. So I was much more focused on ecology and straight field research at that point. So I was applying 8 months after I graduated from undergrad. And then I didn't take any GIS in undergrad, but I took a GIS class through the community college after I finished because I was like, okay, a lot of these jobs want GIS. I'm going to try to get a little bit more experience in GIS.
Sure.
So I took that short-term class, and then I landed an internship which I think was because I had some GIS experience. And so that first job was actually studying cactus at a national park in Utah.
Okay,
So
cool.
yes, working at a bakery outside of Chicago to driving out to Utah and living in the national park, going out in the backcountry every day, searching for cactus. And so it was like a great, amazing experience.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started my entire like 4 years, I think, of short-term positions, just trying to get experience in different realms of natural resources.
Sure.
So I did that 3 months, and then I moved to Minnesota and got a job working for University of Minnesota studying the effects of drought and precipitation, basically climate change, on different tree species.
Okay.
Then so through my job in Utah, I got interested in how we change people's actions related to the environment, because that kind of had to do with, because people were impacting the environment in Utah, and the Park Service was trying to change their ideal. Really wanted to get into outdoor education.
Mm-hmm.
I took 2 years and taught outdoor ed in Texas. So it's moving all around the country.
So where at in Texas?
um, Trinity, which is an hour and a half north of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
We would bring kids from inner city Houston up to the Piney Woods area of eastern Texas and just take them out in the woods for a couple days and try to educate them about why it's fun to be outside, what's interesting about being outside, because a lot of them had never even left the city before.
Yeah.
So that job was really cool. So yeah, I was just moving around a lot trying to get experience in different areas.
I went to, after my dad got out of the Air Force, we lived in Texas for a number of years, near Lake Tawakoni, if you know where that may be. It's going to be north of Trinity by a while, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
like I would say basically an hour east of the Dallas Fort Worth area, so near
Okay.
Longview and some other towns like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no, not a lot of people know where Tawakoni is or anything like
Right. I
that.
haven't
So,
heard of it.
um, so at some point, you went back to get your master's degree, correct?
Yes.
So, where did you go? What did you get it in, and why did you choose that spot and that degree, kind of stuff?
After working in outdoor ed, and it was also like a residential place where we had to stay in the cabins with the kids. So I was like, I have to do something else. I can't do this for the rest of so I realized that I really liked ecology, obviously, since that was my undergrad, but I also really liked the people side of it too, either trying to influence behavior or just understanding why people think about the environment the way that they do. So I was really looking at trying to combine the two. And at the time that I was looking, there really weren't that many programs that were specifically combining the two together into one program. And so I think there was maybe one at somewhere in Montana, and then there was also one at Utah State. And I was like, well, I know Utah, and there was also a professor there. So when I was looking at grad school, I was looking at the research that a bunch of professors do, because that was what I was always told was you should connect with a professor that's doing things that you're interested in and kind of reach out to them specifically and talk to them about their research, ask them if they have any opportunities to work with them. And so I found this professor that I really liked. I reached out to him and we just instantly connected because he was doing a lot of the same things that I was really interested in when I worked in Utah. And so I kind of had that networking a little bit experience just based on all the different stuff that I had done. And so so I ended up going to Utah State. The program was called something crazy at the beginning, like really long term. And so I spent 2 years there getting my master's.
And then, so what kind of projects were you involved in throughout that 2 year period? What kind of stuff did you do
So
research wise, I guess?
yeah, so my thesis was looking at ranchers and ecosystem services that they manage for or do not manage for, and why they might manage for those services. So what I did was I first went and interviewed a bunch of ranchers. So I would actually like call them and be like, "Hey, can I come to your house and interview you about these topics?" So that was really fun because I got to just drive all over Idaho and Wyoming and Utah and just have these like hour to hour and a half long conversations with these ranchers about why they manage the land that the way that they do. And it was really, really interesting because they're so passionate about it because a lot of them are like fourth or fifth generation ranchers who are taking care of the land, and a lot of them feel really misunderstood about how they care for the land. Um, and it also was really interesting talking to them because like obviously they could tell that I wasn't from that area
Yeah.
and I don't have a ranching background. And so it was good experience just trying to talk to them and get them comfortable with me and on my side and have them figure out that I wasn't, because a lot of them are really not very trusting.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was really a really good experience. And so then after the interviews, I sent surveys to ranchers all over the West to try to get more detailed information about what they're managing for and why, and how that affects services that the rest of the public enjoy on public lands in the West.
And overall, had a good time at Utah State. Enjoyed your time.
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's beautiful out there. So.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so after you get done there, what's the next step for you after you get done with your degree?
So once again, I did not get a job right after my degree. So I think that's some advice that I would give is don't get discouraged if you don't get a job immediately after your degree. So I actually went back and worked as a horticulturist at like city parks for a couple months. And another networking thing, my uh, thesis advisor, he knew somebody at North Dakota State, and that person was hiring for kind of a postdoc, but he was open to hiring a master's to accomplish the work, a person who had finished a master's. So it kind of became like a postmaster's.
Yeah.
So it was a 9-month position at North Dakota State. So I moved up to Fargo, North Dakota. And I was looking at why, very similar to my master's, why National Park Service managers manage their grasslands the way they do and how we could encourage them to use more fire, to use like rotational grazing of their bison on their parks. So it was 5 selected parks in the Midwest. And so I got to travel around to all those parks in the Midwest and interview the managers about what goes into their management decisions and like maybe why fire isn't used more often in national parks and how we could help them come up with better or more usable management plans
Okay.
um, for their parks. And so that was interesting too, because it just gave me more experience in talking to people about management and why they make the decisions that they do.
And from there, that's when you've made the move to Oklahoma, correct?
Yes, exactly. So just as that one finished, this job came up, and I think so there was also the issue of like, I really wanted to be more in the Midwest just because I'm from the Midwest, but all my experience was out in the West. So it was hard to convince people in the Midwest, like, yeah, I can do research there too. I have experience there. So I think the job in North Dakota really helped me get a job here because they were like, oh, she knows the plains now rather than just like the Rocky Mountain area. Um, and so, yeah, so then I moved down here and I've been with the department here since, so 2.5-ish years.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that long, but
Yeah. And how do you like Oklahoma City?
I like it. I like it a lot better than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I'm used to a bigger city, I guess, but I kind of like how small it is, even though people from here think it's huge. Um, but yeah, I like it. It has a lot going on for it, and it's like Oklahoma itself is really interesting in its issues because it's so diverse across the whole state. Like you have dry, arid area in the Panhandle down to like woodlands and forest in the southeast, and so it's just there's lots of different issues to research and look at throughout the state that are vastly different. So
I worked for the state park system there for a little over 4 years doing GIS
mhm.
mapping. Um,
Okay.
so I got to see all of Oklahoma, from like you
Yeah.
were talking about the Black Mesa and the Panhandle and
Hmm.
the swampy areas in the woods and down near Beaver's Bend and
Yeah.
everything in between. So it is, when people talk about Oklahoma, I've got a fond spot for it in my heart. I'm like it's pretty cool if you really get to look around.
Yeah.
If you just think Oklahoma is flat and boring, then you're not really giving its due credit. You
Right.
know. So now that you're
Have
there,
you?
what are some cool projects that you've done, or some cool things you've been involved with?
Yeah, so that's what I was actually going to say was like what they like to do, I think, for new employees here is they like to kind of expose you to all the different cool things that the state has to offer. And I think especially if you aren't from here, it's important to get that experience. So I've gotten to like um, go on a paddlefish trip just to see paddlefish because I had never seen a paddlefish before. I got to go help with bear research, so go help some like little black bear, hold some black bears while they were processing the mom and taking her measurements and everything. So I've gotten to like explore a lot of the state and it's been awesome. um, but what was the other part of your question was just other research
Yeah,
I've
what
done.
other
So
kind of stuff have you gotten involved in that you found fascinating, cool, neat?
yeah, well, so honestly, like before I started here, I didn't really research or know much about hunting or fishing
Mhm.
and the anglers and hunters that participate in that sport because it wasn't really what I had been exposed to. And so I think just talking and researching more about that population of people has been really interesting. Just learning how passionate they are, the diverse opinions within the population about how they want management done. Because every year we do a hunter survey and kind of just get what they've harvested in the last year, but then also ask them questions about what they really interesting because we ask different questions each year based on questions that the biologists want answered that would help in their management decision
Mhm.
making. And then we also we do an angler survey once every 3 years, 3 to 5 years, which is gets their opinions on management on the angler side. So yeah, so just learning more about that population has been really interesting to me.
So, since you've been there for a few years, any new things that you're going to be doing or have got your hands on that's going to be starting soon, or things you look forward to doing there?
Um, Yes, there are two projects actually. So one that's almost going out the door this week that I'm really excited about because it's a survey of private landowners that we're doing because Oklahoma is I'm going to get this number wrong, but I want to say like 95% private land. And so that's just vastly different from all the research that I did out west because it's significantly public land.
Hmm.
So just the issues there are there's so much more partnership required because you're depending on private landowners to manage the land that public wildlife is depending on. So I'm really interested to get that, and we're sending it to I think 10,000, almost 10,000 private landowners just to get
Okay.
what out there and get a better idea of how we can better partner with them to create, I don't know, field days to give them or things like that. So that project should be really interesting. Um, and then another project that we're doing this late summer, early fall is the department's really interested in increasing the diversity of our constituents. So one uh, group of people that we're starting with is women, because we just know that our constituency is dominated by men overall, and a lot of our programming is aimed towards men. And so our goal is to do focus groups and maybe a follow-up survey of specifically of women, and kind of to figure out what kinds of programs they need, what kinds of barriers they're facing in trying to get out more, or what we can do to help them just be able to go out and hunt and fish and recruit and bring more people and all that. So that project should be really interesting too.
Yeah, I know when I was at Oklahoma State a few years ago, right? There was a strong group of the Becoming an Outdoors Woman.
Mm-hmm.
I know they were a pretty strong group during that time frame. Not a group I kept up with for obvious reasons, but it was neat to see that they did a lot of paddling and a lot of archery stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think that's cool that that's it's a good target population to start that process. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Um, excuse me. So I think the next part of this is, and I'll remind the folks that are joining us, if they have any questions, put it in the chat. I think the next part is, what are some things when you look back about look back at your trajectory, your meandering path, so to speak. It looks like, you went back and forth across the states. Um,
Yes.
what are some of the things that you wish you'd have done differently, or what are some pieces of advice you'd give to others as they kind of think about their young professional careers, either as a student or as somebody who's a young professional?
Yeah. So I guess I think so. I'll start with something that I would not change is how much I moved around.
Yeah,
'Cause I loved that, and I think that really helped with networking and helped with getting experience in different areas and with different projects. So I think that is something that I would definitely recommend if you can, is to just not necessarily worry about where the job is or what it's doing.
yeah,
If it's a job that interests you, kind of follow it, because I think that's sort of what I did is, and how I got to where I am is I was just kind of like, oh, that sounds interesting. And it helped me. I started out like so broad with just a biology degree. And then I kind of like narrowed it down into what was helpful. Can follow what you're interested in, then you'll find the job. The job will find you that
yeah.
is open, that you can get. I guess one thing I would recommend is trying to get experience in the place that you want to be eventually, because I think that kind of hurt me. I knew I didn't want to end up out west just because I'm really close to my family and I wanted to be close to them eventually. But when I was trying to maybe move back closer to Chicago, it was hard because I didn't really have experience in that area. And so if you can get experience in the geographic location that you want to, that would be helpful. Yeah, I guess
And
that.
so is it like a 12, 14-hour drive, 15-hour drive?
From here, it's like, yeah, 12 to 13, maybe 15 if I take my dog because we have to stop more often.
Yeah, I remember driving to Macomb a few times from northeast Oklahoma, and I was trying to think about like the
Mhm.
highways and how it's different and all that.
Yeah,
Um, so your family's still up in that area.
yeah,
That's cool. Well, uh, hopefully you'll be able to get closer to them at some point, right?
yeah. We'll see.
Um, so the last question I have is, and it has nothing to do with, well, it may have something to do with what you're doing now, but like if you won the lottery, or for some reason you can do any job in the world or any thing that's not your job now, what would be your dream job or your dream hobby job or whatever, however you want to classify that?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have two answers. So one kind of related to my job, and then one that is, I guess it's still kind of related, but not really. So the one that's kind of related that I actually might end up switching to at some point if I ever get the training that I want is I am super interested in GIS.
Mhm.
So I would love to just be a GIS analyst because I just think that's a super interesting job. I've looked at going back and getting like a certification or even another master's to try to
Sure.
switch. So if I ever get frustrated or anything with my job, I think that would be a switch within reach that I
Sure.
could do. The lottery job, I guess, is I love gardening. And so I would love to be like a landscape architect.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's kind of been my dream position for a long time, but I just don't, I'm not really artistic. And I actually looked at undergrad programs for that, and they require you to send like a portfolio of drawings. And I was just like, nope, I'm not. But yeah, if I didn't need to make money
Yeah.
as a landscape architect, I would do that because it
Yeah.
would still allow me to be outside. Because that's something that I guess that I don't time and it's all desk time.
Yeah.
So I'm going out and interviewing people specifically or helping with biological projects at the department. I'm at my desk analyzing data. Um, so I think I would like maybe a job where I'm outside more. So
Sure. Sure. Well, I know, we've taken enough of your time overall. I appreciate you joining us today.
yeah.
Do you have any questions for me or the students or anything, or um, any closing words of wisdom?
I am interested. I mean, if any of the students want to talk, like um, how close are they to graduating in this class?
This is a junior level course.
Okay,
Most of them have a year ish to go. So um, some of them, they're staggered. Some of them may have 2 years. Some of them may have one more semester after this. But most of them have
gotcha.
a fall and a spring semester left. If I was gonna, guess.
So are most of them looking to head straight into the workforce, or are a lot of them looking at grad school, or what's the percentage there?
I would say there's probably only a couple that are looking at grad school. Most of them, just from the conversations we've had in class, most of them are probably looking to go into, they have to do an internship as part of their program here.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be doing an intern. That's the last semester before they officially graduate. Um, so they'll be looking at that. Some of them as early as spring and next summer. Um, and so, but most of them that I've through conversations are looking to go straight into the workforce, into the profession.
Gotcha. Okay. And
There's a
just working
couple
like,
that are. What was that? Sorry.
oh, I was just going to ask what, like, are they just going to try to, for the agency, wildlife agency, or what's the job force that
There's
a lot of
really
them?
a variety of folks in this class, so it's kind of interesting. As I've talked to different people, we've got people that are involved with the wildlife. We've got or interested in wildlife, interested in forestry, interested in state parks, national parks. So it's really just for this course, it's a little bit of a wider audience.
Gotcha.
But I
Okay.
would say, Forest Service, Army Corps, state parks, national parks, and we've got a few that are more of the wildlife slant. There's
Gotcha.
one student that also has a little bit of interest in zoos,
Hmm,
so
okay.
even more so down that road than even most of our students. So
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
and so we've got and not just in this because the students take courses in different rotations and whatnot, but some of the students you know that I've talked to outside of this class or that are in another class of mine or whatnot also have a strong interest in human dimensions of wildlife.
Oh, good. Okay.
And that kind of gave me the idea to reach out to you and then Ashley Gramza as well here in Arkansas to kind of um, get get those students some interested and get them some information and let them see that it's not I don't know. I think some of the students think that, when they hear human dimensions of wildlife, they think I've got to be a biologist. And having that understanding and some of that knowledge is great.
Yeah.
But, when it comes, in my view, it comes down to it, it's not a biology position, right?
Hmm.
It's a people position. And
Yeah.
so it's
I
a,
mean,
it's a different look at it. But I want them to know that, if you're, right now at this stage in their life, the doors are wide open. There's a lot of things they could go into. So,
yeah.
and, uh, and so through this series, we've had quite a few different people that have joined us from a variety of positions. We had, consultants, forestry folks, national park folks,
Cool.
state parks. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. And, certain people I knew beforehand, some people, not as much. But it's been interesting for me as well to get to know some of these people even better than I did.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
been
that's,
fun.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I guess that's something I would say is like, I, in undergrad, I had never even heard of human dimensions. And so I think it's just something that I discovered later. So I would not close your mind to what kinds of positions are out there, especially, and I think human dimensions too is growing. People are seeing more and more the importance of it. So it's definitely a growing field. So there's always going to, I think there'll be more and more jobs in human dimensions as time goes on too.
Yeah. Well, even just there, I mean, I remember, we've talked about, I don't know, is Andrea your supervisor or is she,
Yeah, or she's the federal aid coordinator now. Actually,
so
she's
like,
switched.
when I remember when she was the only person
Yeah.
and did that in other jobs. And so it was interesting to me that, they've kind of expanded that footprint for human dimensions folks at Oklahoma. Um, and gosh, I think I met her in 2008 or 2009.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Well,
So,
yeah, because I think she's been doing, or she was started in like the late '90s, which is crazy.
yeah, well, I think I met her my first or second year getting my PhD there at Oklahoma State.
Okay,
Is how we met, and super
gotcha.
super nice. Uh, and I probably need to reconnect with her a little bit and just catch up. But she was always super nice to me and helped me
Yeah.
out a lot as far as understanding what a little bit about what she did and that
Hmm.
stuff as well. So, but yeah, so
Nice. I guess, and one other thing I was going to say about my job that you kind of brought up was how it's not a biology position because I get to partner with a lot of biologists. So something I really like about expert in any kind of biology, but I kind of get to learn small pieces about everything going on in the department because I'm the only person that does human dimensions. So anybody that wants to do human dimensions comes to me and I get to partner with them. So I get to have my hands in a lot of different research projects, which is fun, which is really fun. So
yeah, and that's something that we talk about a lot too in class is getting the variety of things so you can speak the language, so to speak.
yeah,
You understand where different things are. You may not be the expert on herpetology, but you know enough to understand and talk to the folks that do,
right.
or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Hopefully.
yeah. Well, very good. Well, Betsy, again, thank you very much. We will
Yeah,
let
thank
you
you.
go.